Boom. Trying to go live here for the members. Boom, boom, boom. Oh. Mr. Doug,
What's going on, man?
how you doing? You can hear me okay?
Yes, sir, I can.
Perfect. It doesn't sound like I'm clearly in a mud room.
Uh-huh.
Does it sound echoey or does it sound okay?
No, it sounds great.
Sounds like I'm using a mic, like a real mic.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. How do I sound? Because I was actually at my desk. I was about to get on my mic and computer, so
Oh
we're
yeah,
good
no.
on my end.
Yeah, you sound great. Okay, good. Yeah, see, I do everything in my mud room, which is kind of crazy.
Got you.
Yeah, is what it is. Yeah, I wish I had enough space that I could do it all in a room and just kind of walk in and press start, but all that stuff. But no, it's awesome. I'm happy to have you here. You kind of came on the scene. I don't know. Maybe you've been here for a while, but
Uh-huh.
have you been on YouTube for a minute or?
I've been on YouTube for 2 years.
Oh my gosh, how did I miss you? Did you do a rebrand? Did you do a Panthers rebrand?
I wouldn't say like a rebrand. I changed my logo a couple of times. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
change my name or anything, but no, I've been
Okay.
Wassup Doug for 2 years since I hit the platform.
Okay. Yeah. Because I swear it feels like either you did because I noticed your thumbnails, I noticed like your headline and all that stuff on YouTube. I'm like, who's this guy? You look like you work for the Panthers, just like the way the graphics look.
Well,
It's like,
no, like I said, I call my anything I do. I try to be
hmm
perfectionist, or I said perfectionist,
yeah, both.
perfect at, and actually, put it out there like it's a production. So I
Yeah.
just don't just throw anything out there. I really like, put details in it. Actually, make sure it's attractive to the eye and put out
hmm
good information for the people.
And you've been doing exactly that. And you're putting where your money where your mouth is. You're on the road doing your thing. Like that kind of stuff is awesome. So
Yes,
did you go
sir.
to
I
the
appreciate that, man.
Yeah, it's great. You got to do it, right? Like, you got to give it for the people. Because the reason why I started Panthers Post, mind you, so I'm in Canada, I'm in Toronto,
Okay.
and no one talks about the Panthers, like nobody. Maybe a little bit more now that Chuba Hubbard's on the team and he's Canadian, but no one talks about him. And even like national media podcasts, they didn't talk about the Panthers. I'm like, I need my fix. And
Yeah.
there was a couple people who were doing it, and I was like, I'd do it just for fun. And yeah, you just kind of have to do that extra mile. And I think what you did was definitely very awesome. Like I know Aaron went down to training camp. He was doing that stuff. That's awesome.
Yes,
PMP
sir.
did that, and now you're at the Senior Bowl. And I think for Panther fans, that's kind of like our Super Bowl, right? Senior Bowl.
I mean, it was cool. I mean, with how the Super Bowl played out yesterday,
Mm,
and the prospects that I think have caught my eye, it was the perfect timing for our first media credential to actually get in contact, see boots on the ground,
hmm
look at players that we possibly could draft, talk to Dan Morgan, talk to a couple of NFL Network analysts, and just network. So
hmm
I'm really ready for free agency to jump off in a draft to see if everything comes into fruition, what Dan Morgan and what a lot of the national media thinks the Carolina Panthers can do.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So yeah, I saw you. Yeah, you were. It was. I would love to go to the Senior Bowl. You just kind of had. It was like a buffet of whatever you wanted. Like, yeah, Dan Morgan. You had one-on-one interviews with draft prospects, like not like undrafted free agents. Like you were talking to like top 25 guys, and they were giving
Yes,
you
sir.
their time, and
Yes, sir.
that is awesome. Like
Yes, sir.
that's unparalleled experience, man, and coverage. So like, what are some of the things? I don't know if you want to give everything away, if you want to save it
I
for
mean,
yourself.
whatever. Hey, I'm an open book. I appreciate you having me on. So I'm an open book. So if you want to ask
Mhm.
specifics or what you want to know, hey, it's out there now. So I mean, it's go.
All
I'll
right,
go.
okay. So in that case, what was Dan Morgan saying? How strong was his grip? Number one.
So I will be honest. Dan Morgan didn't know who I was, which is fine
Yeah.
because again, I'm not a beat writer. I'm not with the Charlotte Observer. I'm not one of the mainstream media outlets that are in the room every
Mm.
week after every game. So when I approached him, he shook my hand. Definitely was like, "Oh, nice meeting you." I told him I was a Panther fan. I'm a Panther content creator on YouTube. He kind of did a slight head and I said, "Can I interview?" He said, "Yeah, I got to talk to the PR team." But he was like, "What you got in mind?" So I literally told him, "Hey, I know how 2024 season went. You were very aggressive addressing the offensive line. You came in and was aggressive with Dave Canal's scheme that we wanted to add players to bulk up that offensive line. I said, going into year two, you don't have to get a new coach. You are the GM. You've been here as the assistant GM. You're now year two. What is your plan going into the offseason?" He said, "We're going to be aggressive again." He said, "We're going to double dip at position of need." And he said another
Mm.
thing that people have to understand: we had key injuries that did not help Evero's scheme. We know
Mm.
how the scheme is, and when it's at full strength, we know what to expect. So the thing for me was um, more of what can we do to help both sides of the ball. And everything
Mm.
that he said in his closing interview, it was almost a rinse and repeat.
Okay.
So he didn't give me any names or anything, but
Right.
I do kind of know based off of the scouts that were there what particular areas they were looking at. So
Yeah.
I did have the pleasure of
Yeah.
talking to Mike K the next day or 2 days afterwards,
Mm.
and Mike K and myself were able to do more dialogue of what we thought and players and everything. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, just the fact that he said double dip, like it seems like I think that's kind of been the theory that's been thrown around there that they double dipped that guard. They knew that was a serious hole, and we know where the hole is on the defense, right? Like it's on the
correct,
defensive line and in tackle edge. Like, could they double dip? Maybe one in free agency, one in the draft. Who knows? Or maybe both in the draft. We don't know. But I think the fact that he even said that was like, wow. And also, mind you, we all know this is lying season. Like they're going to lie to you, they're going to lie to me, they're going to lie to Rich Eisen. But you
correct,
can't lie about where you're standing, where you're looking, right? And
correct.
you're watching them watch players, and so yeah. Who did you see? Like, yeah, what did you see them? Were they watching? Weren't watching quarterbacks. I know that, or
No,
maybe
I
they
mean
were.
O line and D line drills. They were watching um, corner and wide receiver drills.
Hmm,
Um, tight end again. Tight ends were down there. They literally had over a dozen scouts out there. So you
nice.
had some split. About six were looking at the O line and D line drills for both the East and the West teams, and
Hmm,
then Dan Morgan was sprinkled in looking at corner and wide receiver matchups. But he
hmm.
was walking again. You had we probably had over 400 people in Denton on Sunday whenever he was there before he went down to the Senior Bowl. So
Wow. So, did you go to the Shrine Game and the Senior Bowl?
no, I just went to the Shrine Game in 2025, 2026. We're going to the Senior Bowl next year.
Okay, okay.
So
So you got okay. So okay, you're at the Shrine Game as well. Okay, but did you? And so they're focusing on that. So I think we all know their positions of need.
correct.
Did you see? Did you read some faces? Did you see some guys that do one of those when guys are doing something crazy? Or
I would say this: a lot of scouts are very intrigued with Jordan Phillips out of Maryland. So it was
okay.
a lot of oohs and ahs whenever he was
Mm,
doing reps. Very chiseled. I mean, his numbers do not show production, but again, I didn't really know much of his film, but seeing him during practice, he actually won. If I'm not mistaken, he was on the West team. He won one of the defensive lineman honors for the All
mm,
Shrine team for the West
mm,
Side. So um, it was more of Jordan Fields was one that really intrigued me a lot. Hassan Ahmad Hassanin out of Boise
mm,
State is another one.
mm,
DN, JJ Pegas out of Ole Miss had a good film. Elijah Roberts out of SMU. I was able to
mm,
interview him after the game. He
mm,
was another, like I called him a gym. I call him a hitting gym.
mm,
And I really got close to a running back that I'm going to be looking forward to following his journey
mm.
throughout the draft process to draft. I have, I've reached out to him, have his contact.
Oh
I'll be
yeah.
having him on the channel, and that's Taj Brooks out of Texas Tech. I really
Okay, that's a guy I
hoping
watched too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Todd. I mean, he was my first interview. When I
Mm-hmm.
say he was my first interview, he was my first interview field for interviewing players, and he acted
Wow.
like I was just like a main media person. We had
Mm,
great dialogue. He was like, "Hey, take my number down." He was like, "If you want to interview me again," and like I said, we basically have said that we're going to keep in contact all the way through the draft. Have him up after the draft, and hopefully he goes to a good team during training camp because I'll go to his training camp and see him out there as well. So
that's
again,
great.
that's a running back that I really do love and can't wait to see where he lands is Taj Brooks out of Texas Tech.
Yeah, I always run into him when I'm doing mock drafts, and I'm always like, it's like fifth, sixth round, looking
It's
at running
it's it's
backs.
tricky. It's tricky because
Right.
his projected right now is 4 or
Mm,
down, but it just depends on if he gets an invite to the NFL Combine, how he does at the Combine,
right.
how he does in these team meetings. So I do see him as a day 2, day 3 pick, but again, he's going to work for it, and he
Yeah.
was one of the gems during practice as well that got
Mm,
honored for one of the backs. Even though Arizona's running back took off during the
uh,
game, he was definitely throughout practice. Taj Brooks was a highlight
mm.
reel.
Yeah, no,
So
I ended up watching because yeah, like I said, I kept running into him in mock drafts on the mock draft simulator. I'm like, okay, I got to watch this guy because there's a place where he could show up when they draft him, and there's a
correct.
really deep running back draft, and we saw this year the running back is back. Running back is back, and
Yes,
so
sir.
and there's like what is it, 32 running backs that have draftable grades. So like every team
Correct.
in the NFL could get a running back or
And
should
add to
get a
that
running back.
room. Yes,
Yep.
sir.
I can see them double dipping because I don't know when Jonathan Brooks will be back. ACLs are weird. Well, they should actually. You know what? They shouldn't be weird. But I want him to be 100 million% ready to go.
Yes, sir.
Like I don't want them, saying, "Hey, don't play on this grass in Germany. It's too long." I'm like, if you're scared about grass, you shouldn't be playing. But he wasn't ready. He's not unless
Yeah.
like, I don't want that. I want him squatting 600 pounds like Jalen Hurts, and then if you can't do that, then you're not ready. And I can see that. I'd be cool if they double dip, maybe get one in the draft and an undrafted free agent running back because there seems to be a lot of talent out there. So
Yes, sir.
who? I'm sure you also watched the Senior Bowl as well, just from home. Like, was anyone
Mhm.
out there that really, took your attention? You're like, okay, knowing what I know, what they were saying in the Shrine Bowl, this is a guy who I think they
I
could
mean, the
like.
obvious is Mike Green.
Yeah.
Everything that Carolina did when Xavier Leggett was looking great the year
Hmm.
before, we fell in love with Xavier Leggett the same way I think we're falling in love with Mike Green. The
Is he
Panthers
six
already
two or
said
6'4"? How tall is he?
Mike Green. I think I had him at 6'2". I think. I
Okay. All
think.
right. Yeah.
So, I mean, but
Hmm.
again, 17 sacks and you lead the NCAA in sacks back to back years. I mean,
Hmm.
you're going to get traction. They just need to see you against the Power Four, which used to be the Power Five schools.
Hmm.
So he showed up. He practiced, didn't play in the game.
Yeah.
Um, who else? Jared Ivey out of Ole Miss, like
Hmm.
him as a DN. Darius Alexander from Toledo, a
Okay.
big guy, a interior D lineman, coming from a small school, definitely earned him some money going against again the Power Four and looking good in practices.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Beck out of TCU. I
Yeah.
think there's always a wide receiver that's going to catch somebody's eye. He was a 1,000-yard receiver at TCU, but they just
Mm.
had a bad team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with him getting MVP honors, the whole story with his brother passing
Yeah.
in New Orleans, with that tragedy, and then him actually showing up and earning, his stock going up now, where he's a projected late first or early second now is good, good
Hmm.
along with Jaden Higgins at Iowa State.
Yes.
The last one would be probably Jacob Parrish out of K
Mm.
State. Shout out to Ricky Raines. We actually like the same player. Ricky was saying
Mm.
that's one of his players that he fell in love with.
Mm.
I actually like him a lot. He's undersized, but he reminds you a lot of Kansas City's corner. I cannot think of his name. It just
McDuffie.
Yes, Trent McDuffie,
Uh.
undersized, but
Mm.
uses his length, but he's bigger than McDuffie. Even though he's
Okay.
below 6 foot, he's 195. So that means
Okay.
he's bulked up and he can really
Mm.
jam with bigger wide receivers and put his body and lean against them. So that's just a
Right.
couple of players that really caught my eye during the
That's
Senior
awesome.
Bowl.
But you were also saying you're excited about free agency. Are there a couple guys out there that you're like, okay, this guy's a Panther, and were they playing at the Super Bowl
Hey,
yesterday?
you already know everybody's gonna say that. You got Sweat and you got Milton.
Yeah.
I think we'll get one of two. If we get two,
Really?
I think I'll say one of two. I honestly
Okay.
think out of the two, I would go with Milton and then draft an edge in the draft. If you get
Mm.
Sweat, I'm not mad at it, but my preference will be the interior where we got
Yeah.
gas throughout the middle. Again,
Hmm.
that's one thing that hurt this defense. You're almost averaging almost 200 rushing yards a game against
Hmm.
our front. We were
Hmm.
very little, no slight to Shot Tuttle, but we were very undersized when Derrick Brown went out. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Ashawn Robinson came along, but we weren't really able to see Ashawn Robinson and Derrick Brown work along with each other. But you put a Milton in there, or you get somebody else via trade.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that defensive front needs to be addressed. I don't know about names. I do think we need to get a safety because we
Yeah.
only have Damani Richardson there.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to either bring in two veterans and draft one,
Mm-hmm.
or you can't really go all youth. You need some
Yeah.
veteran expertise and experience back there. And I do think we're going to get another corner. I do know we have
Mm.
Mike Jack available here with us still here. I do, and I've heard that he's not going to cost a lot. They do want him back.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to come back. It's just a matter of opening that cap space where I think our final cap
Mm-hmm.
number would be between 50 and 60 million
Yeah.
after we cut, extend and restructure. So we have money. And that was the
Yeah.
one thing a lot of Panther fans are worried. We don't have any money. We don't have any money. The
They
money's
can work
coming. We
it
just
out.
got to be patient
That's
because
what
it's going to
Brent
work
Just all
out.
about. Yeah, he'll
Thank
work
you.
the cap. He'll restructure contracts. That's what it's about. And like, yeah, I see that. I can see. Yeah, what I know. We're watching the Super Bowl, and we see these guys. Like, yeah, I'm looking at Zach Braun as well, the linebacker. I know
Correct.
he's a bit of a crush from some people as well. But yeah, like everyone's like, oh, they're going to come to the Panthers. I hope they do. Like,
Correct.
I can see, they could take big money from the likes of the Patriots and all that, but I see Dan Morgan, and I could see him really roping guys in for sure, trying to bring them in as a free agent. Yeah, I could see a double dip. Yeah, kind of like an either or. Like if they get Milton in free agency, and then you get your Mike Green in the draft, or vice versa, you get your Josh Sweat, and then maybe a Mason Graham, or if he's
That's what
around,
I'm hoping. That's the home
yeah,
run hit right there. And then, depends on these. I'm hoping it's three quarterbacks taken in the top
yep.
seven. You're going to have somebody that's going to fall that's going to help you.
Yeah, I want. Yeah, Jackson Dart. He could be the guy.
There it
Who's the
is.
guy? But
There
we'll
it
see how
is.
thirsty guys are because there's really not a lot of free agent quarterbacks out there. It's like Kirk Cousins, Jameis Winston, Justin Fields. Like
It's not a plethora of them out there.
no. So yeah, you could see them maybe either. Yeah, I think the route for a lot of these teams that like the Titans, the Cowboys, not even the Cowboys, sorry, the Cowboys, the Browns. It's either you get your quarterback now in Shadur or Cam, or you suck and hope that Arch Manning declares because there's a chance he doesn't declare. And so
Correct.
I
And
don't,
he
I don't.
stays. He stays all 4 years.
Yeah, what are you going to do? And you're just
Yep.
going to kind of sit there and suck. Your fans will not be fans of that. No. And for safety, like I like Javon Holland. I don't know how much money he might cost. He's Canadian as well, which is kind of sweet. What's it called? Stephen DeFeo, who's watching this. These are the Panthers posters, Doug. These are paid subscribers. I
Got
say
you.
we draft all defensive players and run it back with the offense. Defense was second worst in the NFL. Yes, yeah. I think defense is a thing. But speaking of that, do you see them? What route do you see them going in terms of offense, in terms of adding talent? Or do you agree with Steve? Like, let's chill on the offense.
No, day three. I mean, because you
Yeah.
have you have you have you have some wide receivers. You got Nash. I think his name is
Mm.
Nick Nash from San Jose State. He
Mm.
definitely earned his money. I talked about him at the mock draft I did on my channel on this past Thursday. Um, Again, Jimmy Horn Jr., who we were able to interview, Jimmy Horn did phenomenal, and he actually
Mm.
earned his keep to go to the NFL Combine. So
Mm.
they're. I mean, we need another wide receiver. We do.
Yeah. Mm.
I know one thing that I was told is we're not going to spend bank on getting a wide receiver in free agency if the price is too high. So
Mm.
one
A T
thing
Higgins
again,
dream.
yeah. So look at it. Think about this. What did I mean? The way that the Philadelphia Eagles have won is through the draft. They
Mm-hmm.
literally have drafted well for the last 3 years. You can
Yeah.
go spend money here and there, but you have to build your own talent and you have to be strategic with your talent. The
Mm.
board has just failed to them with their, in their lap for them to get certain players. But
Mm.
again, to answer that question, I do think it's a day three in between what the fourth and the seventh round depends on how the board falls, but it
Right.
also goes hand in hand into what they do in free agency.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see. Yeah. T Higgins obviously is the apple of people's eye. Like, oh, just give him
Hmm.
what he wants. But yeah, if they can, yeah, if they trust their scouting department, which you kind of do because I think Xavier Leggett definitely had some flashes. He just randomly showed up during the Super Bowl with an ankle boot on. Like what the hell was that? Doing a commercial for Reese's. Like, so did he get surgery on his wrist and his ankle? I don't know what happened. But then so I think the future is bright for Xavier. And then we got Mr. Cokehead himself. Like I think you got to give some love to the scouting department finding some talent in the draft. So if they bypass the T Higgins, you see them going for who's the cat out of the New York Giants? He's a
You get
free agent.
Garrett Wilson,
No, the Giants. The Giants.
Slayton.
Or damn it, Tyler. Is it Tyler? Yeah, Darius Slayton. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like him or
Again, the
like
price has to be right, but I'll say a player that I do want them to bring back from that room is David Moore. David Moore grew on me
yes.
more and more
Yes.
um, at the end of the season. But again, I want youth. I don't want to go get another
Mm,
veteran. It's okay to go to the back end of the draft and get one of these wide receivers.
No,
Also,
I
it's the
like
wide.
David Moore too. I love
Yeah,
him.
it's
I thought he
it's a
has a
wide
touch
receiver out
plays.
of Eastern Washington. I can't think of his name at the top of my
Mm,
head. He was at the Shrine Bowl and he was getting a lot of attention as well. A lot of
mm,
separation. A lot of people were saying, remember who came out of Eastern Washington as well, who's
mm,
now in a trade block in Cooper Cup.
mm,
So
mm.
again, not saying that they're the same player, but he definitely, demonstrated some similar traits.
Right, and yeah, you talk about the Rams. Like, look how they develop. It's through the draft. Cooper Cup, Puka Nakua. Like, these are all
Yep.
late round picks. We see what the Pittsburgh Steelers do with wide receivers. They draft them, and so there's just hope. I just hope that they get their work right when it comes to these wide receivers in the draft. But I could see them doing something in free agency if it's not T Higgins. Like, does Chris Godwin move the needle for you? Coming
So
off injury too, which is tough.
I've heard this about the whole thing with Chris Godwin. The
Mm,
thing with Chris Godwin is his wife made some comments, and Dave Canales
mm,
addressed him when he was in
mm,
Tampa, and that's kind of
mm.
like a burning bridge.
Okay,
Again, I
okay.
would say this: he knows the system. I would not be upset if he comes to Carolina. Again,
DK Metcalf. How about DK Metcalf?
I'm huge on DK Metcalf,
Me
but
too.
the
Yeah.
problem, only thing with DK is you have to
Mm,
have that attitude adjustment.
right.
We're a
Yeah.
young
Is he
team.
ready?
You can't do that tantrum. You're throwing your helmet at players and
Mm-hmm.
doing all this extra stuff. I mean, we can't have that coming in with the
Mm-mm,
mindset of a youth team. Again, you have to be a leader.
mm.
You're basically going to be the second leader behind Adam Thielen. It's
Yep.
gonna help Adam Thielen because I think if you get a DK Metcalf, Adam Thielen would have the same success that Tyler Lockett had when he was
Mm,
with Seattle with DK Metcalf. Then you
mm.
also bring in a Jalen Coker and an Excel that even though Smith and Jitma is faster, it's just a different type of playing style of a wide
Right.
receiver. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think just just the NFL is about relationships, as you were just saying before. Chris Godwin's wife and stuff there, and DK knows Dave Canales. He's aware of the way he operates. So I wonder if he'd be able to, see eye to eye with him and maybe coach him up to be a bit of a leader there. And then also we know that Debo Samuel's potentially on the trading block,
I'm
and
good
that
on that one.
a good as
I'm
in
good.
pass.
I'll pass.
Really, you think he's kind of past his prime type thing, and he'd sell jerseys. I know that, but
Injuries for me.
injuries, and we
Injuries
already have Xavier.
injuries and then a prima donna. That's how I'm gonna leave it at. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay,
I'll leave it at
okay.
that.
All right. See, my only thing was I want guys who can do different things, and
Correct.
he's kind of like a Xavier, but older and a little bit more banged up. I want someone who's a bit different. I want a guy who can stretch, which is why like I gravitate towards the T Higgins, but he's going to cost a lot of money. But then yeah,
I'll tell you this, Brandon Ayuk. I'll take Brandon Ayuk over him.
oh yeah, okay. Really? Okay. Ayuk was nice. I thought he was a target for the Panthers as well. I thought
Correct.
he was going to be something.
Before he got his bag. So
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's not happening. But I'll be interested to see the free agency about wide receiver because hey, that's gonna be flash. But I think all Panther fans are all on the same page when it comes to we want defense. We want to build on defense, and who best to pick off that from the world champs right now, the
correct.
Philadelphia Eagles. Uh, and so so if you were the GM, how would you approach? You talk to Dan. How would you do this?
I like his plan. You double dip on the D line. You address the
Mm-hmm.
D line. A sprinkle with offense if it's the right price. You need a
Mm-hmm.
playmaker on offense. In the interview that he did over the weekend, he basically said, we can bring in a running back, a tight end, or a wide receiver. Again, they looked at running backs wherever I was here. A
Mm-hmm.
couple of running backs they did reach out to that were at the Shrine Bowl, also at the Senior Bowl. Again, the influx of what you put with Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis, we need the
Mm-hmm.
same thing with the defensive front. Again, if you look at what happened yesterday at the Super Bowl, what won it? It was the trenches. The
Yep.
defensive line overpowered the offensive line. One thing
Mm-hmm.
that we have now is we have a top 10 unit in the offensive line on that side. Now it's time for you to address the defensive side and also bring in players that not can only play in a 3-4, but are better scheme for Evero. That is the issue
Mm,
that I think we've had. When you look back at from Matt Rule all the way to now we have Dave Canales. We've had different coordinators and we've had players on this team that do not fit schemes for
mm,
coaches. Then you
mm,
also need to add depth. That's one thing Dan Morgan said he needed to address as well. Our depth behind our starters was terrible. He was bringing in people right off the street that would
mhm,
not play for anybody else. Half those players wouldn't even be on the Kansas City Chiefs or the Philadelphia Eagles team last night, even if they needed their bodies. So
mhm,
one thing I would say is address the defensive line. You know you need probably bring a linebacker in, address the safety position, and add depth either after your initial wave of free agents or an influx of rookies coming in.
Yeah, no, I agree in terms of the depth there, especially because yeah, you get one guy down. We saw it happen with Austin Corbett, and you don't know. We might lose Christensen, or we might lose Cade Mays. You never know
Correct.
as a cap casualty, so you got to find a replacement there. And yeah, and depth of running back. Like we got Chuba Hubbard, and that's who knows what Miles Sanders what his future holds. But then after that, it's I love Raheem Blackshear, but we need some more cats as well behind there. And no, I 100% agree. About quarterback, though, Bryce is definitely the guy. Andy Dalton
Correct.
might go elsewhere. I read something on Twitter, which is not a real place, that he's getting a little bit of attraction from Tennessee Titans. Um, NFL players seem to like living in Nashville. I can see that happening. Do you think they pick up an undrafted free agent? Do you think Jameis is coming in, or what are you thinking about the quarterback position? The
Well, the
backup.
quarterback, I mean, you still got Jet Plummer, so I don't
True.
actually know what they're gonna do with that. I
Mm,
still think they will bring in a veteran. I don't know who that veteran's gonna be, but
mm,
you have your QB1, and Dan
yeah.
Morgan basically said you don't have to worry about having a quarterback issue or running into a quarterback issue going into the season. We know Bryce is the guy. Now we can look at other needs to help this team on both sides of the ball.
How
Really,
good was Bryce during media day, huh? He was he was killer.
again,
He was a
again,
killer.
it's a different aura. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say I'm not gonna say the analyst that talked to us when I was there, but he basically
Mm,
said he knew because I don't want him to be quoted for it, and it wasn't on their network, but he was
right.
for an NFL network, and he basically said Bryce has never felt adversity or seen adversity until this year. You look at it,
Mhm.
he was a ninth grader starting on varsity for modern day, one of the best high schools in America, ranked every year, went to
Mhm.
Alabama, the prominent school underneath Nick Saban, had to sit behind Mac Jones, took over the reins there, won the Heisman, went to the NFL, and that's his first adversity that he had to face. Then, whenever
Mm.
he got benched, we didn't know how he was going to react. Then he's able to come back from that. And he even said that it showed something more that he didn't know Bryce had in his bag once he got benched and came back. It was a
Mm.
different Bryce that he's never seen from his high school to college days till he started and finished after the Denver Broncos. So,
Yeah.
like I said, the influx, even Coach Bates even said it. I interviewed Coach Bates when I was there. Coach Bates said the
Mm.
optimism in the building never went away. Even when Bryce was not
Mm.
playing great, he said the way that they finished, even though the games didn't translate to wins, he said they're very optimistic if everything plans out, the front office does what they have to do. He said 2025 should be a fun year for the Panthers. And
That's
shout out
what
to
I think.
Coach Bates too. Coach Bates was a fun guy to be around
Yeah, he
out
was
there
doing
too.
special teams, or what was he doing out there?
Yeah, he
What
was
was
out there doing
yeah.
special teams.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you want good people on the team, not just players with coaches as well. Like you need that. Like that. That's how you bring in free agents as well. Like come this way. Like we got a great situation going on here. Yeah, Bryce, he showed a lot. You can tell that his dad's a psychologist. Like
Correct.
they figured things out. And you were right. Like when he got benched, I was thinking, man, like is it as simple as this is the first time he's ever felt adversity? Like you said, like you went through like Matter Day, Alabama. You're the best team every time you step on the field. But you would think even with that, like you're up against LSU, you're up against Auburn, whatever. Like you would think that's some form of adversity. But this was something different. And I couldn't. And then I have to remind myself, this kid's like 22 at the time, 22,
Correct.
23. He is going through some stuff, and I'm just glad. I don't know what happened. And he was asked that question a bunch of times during media day, during media row, and it was just basically simple as. he slowed the game down. He sat down. You can see it from a different perspective. And I was like, okay. But I'd really love to know. Like, I don't know how old you are, but like I was saying this on one of my videos, like in Batman Forever with Jim Carrey, he had this like mind reader thing, and then they could see what your mind is thinking. I would love to know what he was thinking during that stretch where he was benched. Like, how is he compartmentalizing this stress, this adversity? And when that moment came when he had to step up, what did the game look like from his point of view?
Well, you
Uh,
actually know he said he basically during Media Row when we're talking about in New Orleans, he
mm,
basically said mental health is real. Like he takes his mental health very,
okay, I
and
missed
that's
that.
good because again, it's great because I think he hit a reset. I think again the
Mm,
adversity he's never had to face ever really humbled him. I don't think he was a player that was rah rah all up, but it really showed him, hey, I have to do better. I have, and it's accountability. That's the word I would use. Bryce took
mm,
accountability for what was the problem with the offense, and it was him, and then translated
yeah.
over to what he's doing now. Again, I mean, you see how media outlets are attached to him and basically seeing what the reason why he was the number one overall pick.
Yeah, I know, and I just hope. I just wish we didn't have to wait 6 months. I wish we could just keep watching. I wish he could play like arena football or whatever it is in the spring and summer, just to see him play ball. Like he was almost like so he was in the zone in that game against the Falcons. Like the turnaround, during the touchdown sign, I've thrown to Tommy Tremble for the touchdown in the back of the end zone. I was like, that was peak powers, Bryce Young, and I wish we
Correct.
could watch. I wish we could watch him right away. I just want it to happen. I want it to happen because I'm not expecting massive things. Like be competitive. I said it entering last year. If you can double the win total and have a couple of one score games, I'm happy. Even if you lose those, I didn't know it'd be against the Chiefs and the Eagles. I thought those were going to be potential blowouts, but I'm just yeah, I'd love wild card. I'd love pushing for the division. The Bucks, they lost their OC again. The Falcons, they kind of scare me. Michael Penix looks tough.
He looks good, but I don't trust the coaching staff.
No, no, that too. There's holes everywhere. And then the Saints, like I don't know. I don't
Kellen
even.
Moore's still there, but I think Kellen
Is he
Moore had
though?
no choice. Yeah, he's supposed to be the head coach. They announced it yesterday. He has no choice. Like,
Does he have no? I don't know because Sirianni is like, let's do it again next year, and then Kellen Moore was like to Kellen, and Kellen's like, no
we'll
wonder.
see. We'll see on that.
Stranger things have happened. But hey,
Correct.
look, Doug, I know it's Monday. I don't want to hold you. We talked for 30 minutes, but I want people. There's one watching, so I'm leaving this for members for a bit. Then I'm going to put it out there
Okay.
for the follows, and then I'll direct people to your channel. Just make sure to follow you. What's up, Doug? Subscribe,
Yes, sir.
all that stuff. I say it to every content creator. Like I'm so glad there's more of us now, and
Correct.
it just kind of grew. And we're a psychotic bunch. We chose to follow this team and talk about it mainly for free, and
Yes,
so
sir.
people watching this know that we care. We care about this team, and I hope next time you see Dan Morgan, he doesn't do that head thing because I hope he knows like they don't pay us.
Yeah.
Like they pay
Yeah.
the other guys to
It
say
was it
good
was the it
things.
was a filtering out process. I feel like when he
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was like, okay, I don't know who you really are. And again, he was protecting himself because he didn't want
Of
to say something
course.
wrong. But no,
Yeah, and
honestly,
yeah,
I think afterwards he really appreciated the question, and then he gave me a little bit of insight. So I
yeah.
can't wait to training camp. I will be at training camp, and he'll see me at
Nice.
training camp. So
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, we are the direct connection to fans. Like I always felt that, and I think I either pitched it to Aaron or Rashad that they should have like a content creator day. So I'm in Toronto, and I go to Raptors games, and I see just influencers. Like I saw a makeup influencer there,
mhm.
some personal finance influencers. They bring them to Raptors games just to say, "Hey, I'm with the Raptors. Like, I'm at courtside. I'm doing this." If
Yep.
I'm the Panthers, I reach out to you. I reach out to Rashad, Aaron, me. Keith Pern, all those guys. Hey,
Yep.
how about you guys all come to the Panthers game, first game of the season, and like we'll show you the locker room, we'll show you the field, show the media room, like ask questions. Like I think to me that makes so much sense because then it connects the fans with the
It's
team
that
even more.
connection. It doesn't feel
Yes.
distance like a push off. Like
Right. And we're
you
going to be
know,
real.
correct.
Like, I'm not saying the Panthers employees, they don't have a gun to their head, but like, they're not going to trash them the level that we will when we
Correct.
want to. We'll be honest.
Correct.
And I don't know. I just think it'd be cool just to show fans because, like me, there's not a lot of fans. There's a good chunk of fans who don't live in America, and they love the Carolina Panthers, and they would
That
love
is
that
true.
inside scoop. Absolutely. Hey, okay, but Doug, I appreciate you. I
Yes,
appreciate the
sir.
hustle, and I think you're doing a great job.
I
And you
appreciate
got
that,
to,
Phil.
yeah. Hopefully, we all hang one day. I'm having a kid in a month, so depending on where what the game schedule's like for next year, maybe
Uh-huh.
I'll drop down in Charlotte in the
Well,
fall at
I'll
some
tell you
point.
something on the back end because I know she's gonna
Yeah,
watch it, and hopefully I can't say that because then it's gonna give it away. But I
yeah.
got some news for you on the back end myself, so I'll text it to you once we get off.
Oh, okay. All right. I dig it. Okay. But I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
For the non-members watching this down the line, make sure to sub to Wassup Doug. Great content, great production value as always, and hustle. That's what it's all about. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, Phil.
Hell
Yes,
yes.
sir.
Appreciate it. Yes. And let me